and now Inland Valley as well, National Marfan Foundation. There's a whole table over there with information. There's also little gifties on there with pens and pads, things about the Marfan Foundation. Please take what you need. There's all kinds of support systems. You guys obviously know that you can go online and find the Marfan Foundation at marfan.org, obviously. And then I've got Peter Tsai, who's going to do a presentation on the aortic dissection. So
called Aortic Warriors to bring awareness about aortic dissection. I know that people who have Marfans are prone to getting aortic dissection. So when this happened to me, I was healthy, I was in the gym, I was working out hard, and nobody would have known that this could have happened to me. When it first happened, I felt it pop in my chest and then warm went across my chest. And 20 minutes later, I was paralyzed. I could not move my legs. I had to be carried out. And in the day, I called the ambulance to come and pick me up. Went to the ER, which was by 9 a.m. And they had no idea what was wrong with me. They did EKG, they did all kinds of tests, and everything was fine. Until 5 p.m., my brother came to visit me. My brother is a doctor at Kaiser, and he said, "Why don't you do an echocardiogram on him? Don't make a John Ritter out of my brother." Now, I didn't know what that meant at that time until I found out that John Ritter died of aortic dissection. Just this morning, I read about a 27-year-old daughter. His mom wrote about it. She was 8 months pregnant. She had low blood pressure and back pain. Went to her OB/GYN, and they said, "You're fine, just take it easy." 2 days later, she died. Okay, with the baby in her. The baby lived for a few hours, and then the baby died too. But because they didn't think that non-threatening condition would result in her death, and several other people that because of the chest pain, they went to the hospital. They thought it was a heart attack. Misdiagnosed it, gave the blood thinner, they died. So these things are still happening even nowadays. So that's the reason why I have this passion to let people know about aortic dissection, because it is really dead. 8 out of 10 people die from it within minutes. Of the 20% that are alive, half of them don't even make it past the hospital. Okay? So there's not that many of us. And just because there's not many of us that survive or that have it, doesn't mean that there shouldn't be any attention to it. Statistically, there's about 40,000 new cases a year. If you break that down to per day, it's about 100 a day. So imagine 80% of those people will die. That means 80 people will die a day from aortic dissection. 20 of them maybe live, 10% actually survive. 10 of them actually survive every single day. These are little bracelets that you can take with you. There's a little card in there, killer on the loose. Because I believe aortic dissection is a killer. Nobody knows, and they can't catch it. So the only way is to diagnose it early by a CT or an ultrasound. If all they had to do was do an echo and see it's not a heart attack and change that whole protocol around, they could save more lives just from that.
We've had several doctors tell us before, "Oh, you're so lucky, children don't dissect." And I went, "Yes, Michael, lift your shirt." Here's the scars and all this stuff. So yes, they do dissect. And so thank you very much for doing what you're doing. We appreciate that because it is a necessary thing, and especially in the Marfan community, we are prone to that. That is something that does occur.
Please. My name's Matthew. My brother Michael has Marfan syndrome. I remember as we were both young and growing up, I remember he was 3 years old when he was first diagnosed. He was really, really, really skinny, very long, lengthy, tall for his age, and he had an indentation in his heart on his chest area. I remember he had trouble walking at the time just because his skeleton was so long and his ligaments were longer. So I remember when he was 4 or 5, he had braces on his feet just to help him walk, correct his strut. And then he had difficulty seeing, so I remember him having glasses. And we used to make fun of him because they were so thick. And he went along with it too, but he jumped around, so he was good-hearted about it. So I believe he was 10 years old when he first had to have his first major surgery. He did have his aortic valve changed.
Did he have an aortic dissection?
He did, and it is replaced with an artificial valve, stainless steel. He ticks. We used to make fun of him. He used to like it too. It never stopped him from living a full life. He's one of my best friends to this day. We constantly will go out to lunch and hang out together. We'll go see movies together all the time on our days off. We have a good time.
Were there any difficult times after he's had the surgery?
When he had his surgery, that was one of the more fearful times for me, I'd say. It really hurt me to see him in the hospital bed, hooked up with all the machines and everything, because I was young and I really didn't understand what it was. And seeing him like that, because I want to see him like, hey, let's go play Nerf or something like that in the backyard, and you couldn't do that. And I was always worried about him, but deep down I knew he was being watched over, and I knew he was going to pull through and everything was going to be okay. And
how is he doing now? How old is he, and how is his life?
He's 27. He just got married back in May. I was his best man, so of course I made fun of him as much as I could. He's a chef, or a cook rather, and he loves what he does. He went to school to be a cook, and that's what he's doing. He loves it. He cooks amazing food, so I like to try to go over to his apartment or my parents' house when I know he's going to cook every once in a while, just to get some of that gourmet stuff.
Oh,
My
nice.
name is Santino Hunter. Diagnosed at 7 years old, and it was actually a teacher that thought my hands looked a little different. Got the long, skinny hands. Most Marfan people will have them. And she said I looked a little weird when I was writing with my hand, so went to a doctor. And it was kind of like multiple doctors that couldn't figure it out just yet. And I remember going to this one doctor and sitting in the waiting room with me. As we're about to get up and go, he tells him, I'm like, oh, he has Marfans. I could already tell. So like, yeah, already I guess had previous history with it, and he already knew. So from seeing him, they didn't really know how serious my Marfans was. So we had to go to specialist after specialist after specialist. And those had to be like 20 different doctors I had to go to, and they would all say the same thing: you have a unique condition, your son has a unique condition, and we'll send to someone else. And finally found a doctor that understood what I had and was able to do more testing, and the journey began. Now knowing that I had Marfan syndrome, had definitely skeletal issues and heart issues, eye issues, spine issues, and pretty much had to go from there. Start taking medication immediately, and that was a tough journey, taking all those medicines. It was about 12 pills a day, 6 in the morning, 6 at night, and then having to wear a scoliosis plastic, I guess like a vest you had to wear around you. And I used to hate that. I used to hate that morning, wearing that vest. And that kind of developed my anger towards Marfan syndrome for a long period of my life. Found a way to hate it because I hated wearing that thing and going to school. I used to wear baggy clothes so you couldn't see it. And then once in a while I'd mess around and someone would hit me and then they would feel like, oh, what are you wearing? And I had to explain everything. I didn't like it. It made me angry inside for having Marfan. Why me? I had that issue. One day I had a cough for about a month and laying in bed, I remember just taking deep breaths and letting the air out. I felt gargling in my chest. I thought it was maybe phlegm or something, but it's always like a light cough over and over again. So I went to the doctor, emergency room, or urgent care at the point, and they checked me, and they checked my heart, and they said I have fluid in my lungs. So I went from fluid in my lungs to going into LA in an ambulance to Kaiser in LA and having emergency surgery out there. And that was the next journey in my life where I had to start changing my life up. And it wasn't easy, but definitely made the right choices. There's a gentleman sitting in the corner by himself. It's like, I'll go sit with him. And I remember sitting there with him, and he asked me, what are you in for? I thought it was kind of funny, and I said, oh, I have Marfans, and the doctor said I'm about to have surgery. So I remember him saying, oh, what kind of surgery? And so I'm about to do a valve replacement. And he said, well, what else? And I go, oh, that's it. He's like, oh man, that's a sissy surgery. That one's easy. And I remember him joking around so much, like it wasn't a big deal. To me, it was a big deal. Like, man, they're gonna cut me open. They're gonna open me up, and I'm gonna be on a machine for a while until they put me back together. And I had all these negative thoughts towards my surgery until I met him, and he just kind of converted that, like, oh, it's not a big deal. And I remember leaving that conference feeling like, oh, that's a walk in the park. He said it was a sissy surgery. I can do it. I'm no sissy. It's funny. I call this guy my Marfan angel because for him, he definitely saved my life. I wish I knew who he was, but if you're out there, definitely contact me. He had aortic dissection, and he had to get his rib pulled out, like 2 ribs pulled out. He had to get everything. He had the whole ascending, descending repaired. I mean, it was a monster surgery, and he still had like an amazing outlook on it. It's like, oh, that's an easy surgery. Well, I had this, I did this, so mine is way bigger than yours, so that's easy. And then it made me feel really good about what I had to deal with. I mean, I still think of him to this day. So all the journeys, never had to have, you know, a treatment done. I still think of him like, oh man, that's easy, I can do it. He did it, I can do it. You know, so me and him were in the same boat. But yeah, he had a major surgery, and to him, he just brushed it off like it was nothing. So it's not that bad.
Well, I hope one day he will watch this video and meet you, and you'll be able to meet your Marfan's angel.
Yeah, it was a conference in LA. It was a LA conference many years ago. I've been told at a young age I wouldn't live past 14 years old. I'm going to be 36 on October 28th. So if you're out there, doctor, I'm still winning. So 36, and I feel better than ever. All my tests.
Janet Bennett, and I have Marfan syndrome. I was diagnosed when I was 12 years old by my eye doctor. At that time, nobody really knew what Marfan's was, and he took a look at my eyes, and my lenses were so off-center and so subluxed. He says, things look different. You look like you have a problem. And I was also 6 foot when I was 12, so that is part of the characteristics of Marfan's. Still, they didn't really understand the aorta problem. And that wasn't until I was 16 when they started watching my aorta. And I was like a 2.9, maybe a 3.0. I wasn't that much. At that time, they never said to not play sports. In 2009, I was getting ready to have a bladder surgery. And my doctor, who at this time gave me a yearly echo, said, well, let's have the echo first. So I went in and I had the echo, and I got a call that night, said, you need surgery now.
Oh.
And so then within a matter of like 48 hours, I was having aortic replacement. I have a little pig graft in me, and I still like eating bacon though. No problem with that.
What happened to your aorta?
My aorta, the ascending was about to rupture.
Oh.
And so because of the enlargement and where the location was, I can't exactly tell you where the location was, but that was the main concern. I've had no problems with the aorta since. Marfans and heart conditions kind of go hand in hand for a lot of the people. And my son, who also has Marfans, which we discovered when he was born, has the enlarged aorta. From Marfans, I was at a convention. I met this family who is involved in an organization called Camp Del Corazon, and that is a free camp for kids aged 7 to 17 who have any type of heart conditions. And so now I am Flamingo, and I work at the camp, and I had my first time, and it was life-changing. I had 7 to 9 year olds, and out of the 5 girls that I had, 3 of them had already had open heart surgeries. It's not all the aorta, it's not all heart valves or mitral valves, but there's some type of heart condition that they have had surgery for, and kind of puts life into perspective when you can see somebody so young go through so much, and yet their attitudes of life is still very powerful.
You know, I am trying to produce a documentary on aortic dissection and the related conditions that may lead to aortic dissection, because there's nothing like that out there, and I just feel that the public should know, and the people who suffer from it, and the survivorship, the people who their loved ones didn't survive, should know that there's something out there that's being done to save people in the future.
Information is always key.
Yeah.
That's the deal. Information is always key. And the more you can inform, the better off you are. Thank you very much.
Thank you.